Let's get right into it. Number 10. The airline that refused to hide the price. Think about the last time you booked a flight. You saw a cheap price, you clicked it, and then the fees started. The seat selection fee, the baggage fee, the fee for having legs. By the end, you paid almost double. There was an airline that refused to do that to you. It was called EOS Airlines. EOS flew between New York and London, and their whole pitch was simple. One price, everything included. No surprises. Every seat was a wide, lie-flat business class seat, with meals, with bags included. The price they showed you was the price you paid. But budget airlines had figured out a trick. Show a low number up front, make you feel like you're winning, then slowly add the real cost back in, one fee at a time. It's called drip pricing, and it works because our brains lock onto that first number we see. EOS didn't play that game. Their price looked higher up front, even though it was often the same or less in the end. But customers weren't doing the math. They were just clicking the cheaper-looking number. In 2008, EOS Airlines shut down. The airline that treated you like an adult couldn't survive in a market that rewarded the ones that didn't. Number 9. Sears kills its own honest division. Sears, the giant department store, also had auto repair shops. And for a while, one division of those shops was doing something radical. They were telling customers the truth. You'd bring your car in, they'd look at it, and if nothing was wrong, they'd say, "Nothing is wrong," and send you on your way. The problem was that the rest of the Sears auto locations had a different business model. Find something wrong, whether it's wrong or not. California caught them doing this in 1992. Undercover investigators brought in perfectly fine cars. Sears recommended an average of $235 in unnecessary repairs on every single visit. Brakes that didn't need replacing, shocks that were fine. The state called it systematic consumer fraud. The honest division wasn't shut down because it was failing customers. It was shut down because it was failing corporate. The locations that were being straight with people weren't hitting their upsell numbers. And in a company that runs on quarterly targets, honesty is a performance issue. So they killed it. The fraud scandal ended up doing far more damage to Sears than any honest repair shop ever could have. But honesty didn't fit the spreadsheet. Number 8. The video game publisher that refused loot boxes. In the 2010s, the gaming industry discovered it could make more money selling random digital items in virtual boxes than selling actual games. Loot boxes, digital slot machines. Publishers were making billions a year from them, but a mid-sized publisher called Gazillion Entertainment, who made the game Marvel Heroes, said no. Their CEO publicly called loot boxes predatory. He pointed out that they exploit kids and people with gambling disorders, and said his company wasn't going to build its business on that. Investors did not find this inspiring. The companies using loot boxes were making incomprehensibly more money. A free-to-play game with aggressive loot boxes could generate 10 times the revenue of a traditional one. So when Gazillion said, "We're not doing that," investors heard, "We are choosing to make 10 times less money on principal." And investors are not in the business of funding principals. Without fresh capital, Gazillion couldn't keep up. In November 2017, Gazillion Entertainment shut down completely. Marvel Heroes went offline. Hundreds of employees lost their jobs. Gazillion didn't lose because they made a bad game. They lost because they refused to turn their game into a casino. Number 7. The airline that didn't charge bag fees. Midwest Express Airlines. You've probably never heard of them, and that's the point. Back when other airlines were figuring out how to squeeze every dollar out of you, Midwest was doing the opposite. They flew with 2 wider seats on each side of the aisle, not 3. They gave you more leg room than you'd get in business class on other airlines today, and they served freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, warm, on every single flight. No bag fees, no nickel and diming. The ticket price was the ticket price. They were voted best U.S. airline multiple years in a row by actual passengers. Then the early 2000s happened. 9/11 hit the industry hard, and fuel prices spiked. The big carriers made a decision. Bag fees became standard around 2008. If your competitor is making $3 billion a year in bag fees, and you're making 0, you are at a massive financial disadvantage. Midwest Express tried to hold on, but they were a small airline competing against giants who had found a legal way to print money. By 2009, they were forced to merge, and the name and service disappeared. The bag fee industry now generates over $6 billion a year. That's not revenue from flying you anywhere. That's from charging you to bring your stuff. Midwest Express looked at that model, said no, and the market said, okay, then you don't get to exist. Number 6. The search engine that did not spy on you. Imagine a coffee shop where the coffee is free, but the barista writes down everything you say and sells your conversations to strangers. That is Google. Now imagine a different coffee shop opens. It charges you $5 for the coffee, but in return, nobody writes anything down. That was Neeva. Neeva was a search engine launched in 2021 by Sridhar Ramaswamy. He spent 15 years at Google running their ads business. He knew exactly how the machine worked, and he decided he did not want to build it again. So Neeva charged users a small monthly fee. For that fee, you got a search engine with no ads, no tracking, and no selling your data. Just clean, honest search results. But Google is free, and Neeva could never convince enough people that free has a hidden price tag. People looked at $5 a month and free and made their choice. In 2023, Neeva shut down. The founders wrote that the hardest problem was not building the technology. It was convincing people that the thing they were getting for free was actually expensive. So the honest coffee shop closed, and everyone went back to the place where the barista never stops taking notes. Number 5. The honest auto repair shop. There's a type of auto repair shop that most people have never experienced. You bring your car in, they look at it, fix the one thing that was wrong, charge you for that one thing, and you leave. No, while we were in there, we noticed your flux capacitor is leaking. Just the repair you asked for. These shops existed. Past tense. Here's how a normal repair shop often works. You come in with a problem, and the mechanic goes on a treasure hunt through your car, and somehow, he always finds gold. Suddenly your transmission fluid is low and your serpentine belt is about to snap. A scared customer spends more than a calm one. Tell someone their car is fine. They pay you $80. Tell them it's one pothole away from total engine failure, and they'll hand you $800. The honest shops couldn't compete with that math. Landlords raised rents, and a shop that only charged for what was actually broken couldn't generate enough revenue to survive. So they closed. You can't leave a bad review for a fake problem you never found out was fake. The dishonest shop's customers have no idea they're being robbed. A customer who doesn't know they're being robbed is a happy customer, and happy customers leave good reviews. It's a perfect system. Number 4. The car too safe to survive. It's 1948. A guy named Preston Tucker decides to build the safest car ever made, the Tucker 48. Most cars back then were death traps. No seatbelts, hard steel dashboards, and steering columns that would impale you in a crash. The Tucker 48 was different. It had a padded dashboard, a windshield designed to pop out instead of shattering into your face, a center headlight that turned with the steering wheel so you could see around corners. The engine was in the back, giving you a huge crumple zone in a front-end collision. This car was decades ahead of its time. Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler looked at the Tucker 48 and panicked. If this car went mainstream, their own cars would look like what they were, dangerous. So they allegedly used their influence in Washington. The Securities and Exchange Commission launched a high-profile investigation into Tucker for fraud. He was eventually acquitted on all charges, but the damage was done. The negative press scared off investors. The factory was shut down, and the company collapsed. Only 51 Tucker 48s were ever built. The car that was too safe to survive is now one of the most sought-after collector cars in the world. Number 3. The bank that did not cause the crash. In the mid-2000s, banks were handing out mortgages like confetti. Did not matter if you could pay it back. They gave people loans they knew were toxic, bundled them up, and sold them to investors. But there was a small community bank in Chicago called Shore Bank. They looked at what every other bank was doing and said no. They refused to write predatory loans. While other banks were gambling, Shore Bank was carefully serving low-income communities. Then, 2008 happened. The banks that gambled with everyone's houses came crashing down. The government handed them billions of dollars to survive. Shore Bank did not gamble and did not crash, but the neighborhoods it served got destroyed by the recession. The people Shore Bank had given responsible loans to suddenly lost their jobs and could not pay. Shore Bank started bleeding money. They asked the big Wall Street banks, the same ones who had just received massive bailouts, for help. The answer was no. In 2010, Shore Bank was shut down by regulators. The bank that refused to scam anyone was wiped out by the mess created by the banks that scammed everyone, and those banks are still here, bigger than ever. Number 2. The email service that chose suicide. Imagine an email service where the entire point is that your emails are yours. Nobody can read them. Not hackers, not advertisers, not even the company itself. That was LavaBit, a secure email service built by Ladar Levison. By 2013, it had around 400,000 users. One of those users was Edward Snowden. After the Snowden leaks, the US government came to LavaBit with a court order demanding the master encryption key to the entire system, not just for Snowden's emails, for all 400,000 users. Ladar said no. The government came back harder. They threatened him with massive daily fines and hit him with a gag order, meaning he couldn't even warn his users what was happening. He faced a choice: betray every single person who trusted him, or burn the whole thing down. He burned it down. On August 8, 2013, Lavabit shut its doors completely. Ladar posted a message saying he refused to become complicit in crimes against the American people. When he was legally forced to hand over the key before shutting down, he printed it out in tiny 4-point font across 11 pages of paper, thousands of characters, technically compliant, practically useless. He lost his business, his income, and spent years in legal battles, all because he refused to hand over the key to 400,000 people's private lives. Number 1. The car company that was too nice. General Motors had a problem in the 1980s. Japanese cars were eating them alive, so they did something radical. They decided to be honest. In 1985, General Motors launched Saturn as a separate company. New factories, new culture, and one rule that changed everything: no haggling. The price on the window was the price you paid. Salespeople weren't paid on commission, so they didn't pressure you. They just helped you. The experience was so pleasant, Saturn owners became fans. They would wave to each other on the highway. They formed clubs. In 1994, Saturn invited owners to the factory in Spring Hill, Tennessee. 44,000 people showed up just to see where their car was made. When Saturn discovered a batch of cars had faulty coolant, they didn't just issue a recall. They called every single owner and replaced their car with a brand new one. By the 90s, Saturn had the highest customer satisfaction scores in the industry, beating Toyota, beating Honda, and that's when General Motors got nervous. Saturn was proving that the rest of General Motors' dealerships were manipulative and unpleasant. So General Motors slowly strangled it. They cut its budget. They stopped letting it develop its own unique cars and forced it to sell rebadged versions of other General Motors models, defeating the entire point. By 2009, General Motors pulled the plug. Saturn showed them the answer was to treat people like adults. General Motors looked at the results, said, "Interesting," and deleted the experiment. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.